What's up, guys? Real quick update. Just doing a couple things to tidy this up. I wasn't running these front torque mounts. Here's the other side here with the AC bracket. So basically this sits at the front of the engine. This bolts up to the subframe, or the frame. I had this one on one time, and only on this side actually too. And I didn't like how much vibration I got, because these are basically solid, right? But at this point in time, I have still factory mounts, motor mounts here. And man, this engine really torques back quite a bit. And until I actually get some real mounts, I'm going to go ahead and put these torque mounts in. So I got one side in, as you can see down here. Got one side in there already. And yeah, so I'm going to finish doing that. What else do I have to do? Yeah, I gotta finish doing that. And oh, the tune. I have to I have a new tune I'm gonna play with, but I still got to do you guys a video. I'm gonna do that real soon, guys. I promise you I'm gonna get this video out real soon of how to just start from scratch with a tune. I'm talking bass map. And again, I'm not highly experienced with tuning you know, EFI or nothing like that, but I've picked up quite a bit over the last years that I've been researching here. So I've obviously been doing pretty good with myself. That doesn't say that this car's been a rocket by any means, but it's been safe. Yeah, crap, man. There's a couple other things I had to do in here. I got to replace the seals. Got to do the torque mounts. And yeah. We'll get it going. We'll get it going. I'm so drawing a blank right now. It's getting pretty late. I'm just trying to get all this wrapped up. I still got to get this piped out somehow. I know you guys like them hood axes, but I'm not tearing my hood up for that. We'll see. So, yeah. Oh, and this eBay map sensor. I was thinking about trying that. I'm going to have to really watch what this thing reads out compared to my boost gauge. That's another thing too. I don't like this eBay boost gauge. I know it's got to be off by at least 1 or 2 pounds. It's reading 1 or 2 less than I like. Oh, fuel pump. That's what I got to do. And maybe even this fuel pressure regulator, this eBay one. I've been sitting on this for quite some time too, so maybe I'll toss that in. But yeah, man, I got a bag of junk here. Oh yeah, we got to get that in. That's going in tomorrow, guys. I got to get that done. I'll shoot a video of that if you guys want to see it. Got to get a sandwich plate so I can put my oil sending feed. I'm going to put this boost gauge in instead of that. This is one of the glow shift ones. This will look a lot nicer in there. And then I can put my my oil pressure gauge in as well. Yeah, that's my wideband face plate. Yeah, well, I'm all types of scatterbrain tonight, so there you go. So that's what we'll do tomorrow. We'll get the fuel pump in. I have to get those seals. Yeah, I'm just thinking about what else I got to do here. I still got to get this fuse. And like I said, one of my kids grounded out this battery at one point in time, and they blew my main fuse here, so I gotta get that replaced. Not that I'm worried about the wiring in this car by any means, I know it's pretty clean, but still, it's good to have that safety measure. So okay, we'll do the map sensor, we'll do the other torque mount. I'll have that wrapped up by tomorrow. We'll play with that boost controller a little bit. I thought I had it backed out a couple turns. Again, if you guys want, I'll show you real quick how this works, because I didn't really explain that in the video I just did with the pulse. So this arrow is gonna go right to your wastegate. On these type of wastegates, it's gonna go to the bottom part, because how this works is the turbo is gonna push boost into the intake pipe here, right? And this is gonna see boost as well. This line. Now normally, when you're just running gate pressure, which is dependent on your springs, this line will run without the interruption here, without this ball valve in here, and it'll just run here. Whatever this spring set is set at, Now these Emusas, they come with springs to get you anywhere from like 1 to about 10 pounds. I believe there's a maximum spring rate that you can run on here. I ran it for a long time at 6, and now it's at like 6, 7, or 8 spring pressure because I added a helper spring in there. I still had the reverse spring in there. It's a little small one that you stick underneath the diaphragm. And I couldn't get the top half to pull off to get that spring out. I'm not really too worried about it. But here's what happens. This boost controller then interrupts the boost pressure that comes here. And it basically stops a certain amount of pressure that goes in here and lets it open up later on in higher boost levels. And the more that you open this up, which this is reverse threaded, by the way, if you get one of these, to screw in, it's reverse. It's lefty tighty, righty loosey, you know, so it's opposite of what normal screw-ins go. So if I push forward, it backs out and it lets off more air this way, and this doesn't see as much, so that's how you turn up the boost. Now with wastegates, if you don't already, I'm sorry if I'm explaining this to you guys and you already know this, but when you have this boost controller in here and you're turning up the boost, you can always turn up the boost from spring pressure, but you can never turn it below the spring rate in there. It just won't happen. Now, another very, very careful thing, which we'll get into the tune here. I don't believe Chrome even has this feature, so I'm sorry if you guys are running Chrome, but if you're running EC2, Neptune, or Honda, you'll be able to do this. I think it's almost imperative to do this, especially if you're starting out, is to have a boost cut feature. In boost cut, now you got to consider a couple things here. Boost cut is going to let the ECU read your map sensor, and you'll set it so that either the fuel or the ignition will completely shut off if it sees a certain amount of boost. So say for instance, I have my spring rate set to 6, and I got this set up to bump it about another 2 or 3 psi, let's say to get us to 9. The factory map sensor on Honda would only read about 11 psi boost. Anything above that, I don't honestly know what it does. If it goes haywire, if it just sees 11 and stays there, even if it goes up to 20. But what you do with the ECU when you're tuning is you set it to say boost cut at 10, 10.5. That way you never go over this. That's if you even want to go that high. Let's say I have this set for 6 just on my spring pressure, spring rate, and I don't even have a boost controller. So this is set to 6. I'm going to set that to 7 or 8. So if it ever goes over, because see what could happen is see this little burn right here, this cheap silicone eBay hose. Say that starts busting a hole through there one day, and I'm on a road trip and I don't catch it. Say, you know, it goes down there to the exhaust or any part of this, and you get a leak from that point down there to this point here. What's going to happen is, without this pressure pushing that to open up at 6 psi, whatever your spring rate is set for, you're going to get this to just hold boost to whatever that thing will put out. So if you're giving her the sauce and this thing has got a leak, let's say it's got a big enough leak, hey, you're talking 30 psi. But with your tune setup, again, only on, I believe Chrome is the only one out of the 4 that doesn't do this, but I'll show you on EC Tune. You set a boost cut at just a couple psi higher than what you're comfortable or what you're trying to set your, obviously, you know, you want to have your fuel set right. As far as, like, you know, I'm not going to push 15 psi with these factory 240cc injectors. That's retarded. You're not going to be able to push enough fuel in there for that. But, and again, you're not going to be able to push 15 psi because, well, how are you going to run 15 psi on a stock map sensor? So that's how this boost controller works. You bleed it off a couple clicks, go take it for a spin, read your boost gauge, keep an eye on it. And for those of you who ever run into boost cut for the first time, it might scare you a little bit because it just shuts the engine off so harshly, especially when you're in a giving her the sauce, and then all of a sudden the whole engine just shuts down. It might scare you a little bit if it's your first time dealing with that, but it's a great safety measure to have. There's also on most of these software platforms for lean protection as well. Now I'm running my AEM wideband right here, and it goes and it taps into the data signal, taps into my ECU through my O2 wire, which is D10, I believe. I'm going to switch that over to the ELD port because it only reads from 10 to 16 and a half AFR ratios, and that's fine enough for that, but I wanted to be able to read the whole 5 volts, the whole 10 to 19 or whatever it is. So I'm going to switch that. But another thing is, when the lean protections are set, as long as you got a wideband connected, you can set your lean protection at so many pounds of boost. I know at EC Tune you got 2 stages of lean protection, and we'll get into that too as well. So that if you're at 3 pounds and say it goes over 12.5 to 1 AFR ratio, it'll ignition or fuel cut depending on what you set that to as well. So anyways, we'll get into all this stuff, guys. Just giving you a little short update and show you what I got going on. I've got a pretty good map narrowed down to how I want it for Street Tune. I think I got whew, the bugs are getting atrocious. I think I found a place that actually tunes that's not 6 hours away from me, but only 3.5. I know it sounds crazy. I have to drive this thing like this or trailer it 3.5 hours away to go spend $300 to $500 to do something that's only maybe going to gain me another 5 or 10% performance out of this. When, I mean, come on, face it, man. We're doing turbo kits like this for $500 the whole thing. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about going and sitting on a dyno, to be quite honest, because if you start getting a good understanding of street tuning, yes, the dyno will really fine tune it and get you that little inch. I get that. You know, you got people like Hunter that are doing just fine, you know, kicking butt, and other guys that are doing just fine, kicking butt, doing street tunes out there. I mean, thousands of people street tune. And granted, some people do have problems with it. Some people advance the ignition too far or miss something. And, you know, when you're on a dyno, you do have some of those safety features there. But, I don't know, you just got to be careful with it. So, anyways, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. If you got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. And until then, we'll see you later.